Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conspiracy Farm, where we don't start the conspiracies, we just add the water. And now, your host of the most state-of-the-art, most informed podcast on the interweb, I present to you Pat Miletich and Jeffrey Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for war?
Yes, are you indeed? Are you ready for war? Another episode of the Conspiracy Farm with myself, Jeffrey Wilson, riding shotgun with my partner in crime, UFC Hall of Famer, eater of planets, Pat Miletich.
Eater of bratwurst for the past week, and pasta and lasagna.
Well, yeah, we are
gluten-free lasagna.
Of course,
yes. We
we are hanging out here on the 4th of July holiday edition. Happy 4th, champ. How was your 4th of July? I know you guys got your party coming up this Saturday's bang. What's going on, man? How was your 4th?
It was good. We had friends over and chilled out, relaxed at the pool. Casa de Miletich here, so chilling in Iowa, man.
And then Saturday is the big soiree. You guys got a band coming, like you guys have.
Get the band, and, we're a little concerned about the fireworks situation because it is past the 4th of July, and it is a mandatory $250 fine for your first offense of blowing off fireworks. But I don't know if my stuff qualifies as fireworks.
Is it like weapons of mass destruction? What do you say?
It's bigger.
That's what she said.
The smallest thing we have is mortars.
Really? Those are dangerous, man. Hopefully you guys have
some...
No,
I don't know. I'm a little concerned. I don't want to have the cops roll up and write me a ticket. I'm really not in the mood for that. So I don't know.
Well, you are Pat Miletich, so hopefully that carries a little bit of water. But
go ahead.
No, what's up?
Well, I was just thinking that we were going to take the mortars, the tubes, the PVC tubes, out of the ground and make them shoulder fired in case, we got to deal with, the law enforcement.
And this goes back to the old school.
That's a joke, by the way. That's
of course,
I train law enforcement people.
This is like the old school dummy move of doing the Roman candle battles.
Yeah. Almost as dumb as the guy that strapped the rocket assist, the boost rocket from the side of a transport plane. He somehow found one and bolted it to the top of his 1972 Nova.
Oh, wow.
Out of the New Mexico desert, and then ignited it. And this was one of the Darwin Awards of many years
I was going to say,
you can look it up, actually.
Yes. What I was going to say.
They figure, I think the car got going over 300 miles an hour. And then it somehow became airborne on the desert 2-lane blacktop and hit a cliff face like 400 feet up. And there was nothing bigger left of the car than like quarter-sized chunks. It just disintegrated into the side of the cliff. And the guy that was driving obviously didn't make it out of the fiasco.
No, we call that thinning the herd, like you said. The Darwin Award goes to this.
There's a lot of Darwin Award stuff going on nowadays, right?
I mean, every day.
We're seeing it.
Yeah, we see it a little bit every day. I actually watched the movie Teen Wolf the other day. Remember Teen Wolf?
Yeah. And I watched about 5 minutes of it. You watched the whole thing, though.
I watched most of it. It was just so weird because I was like, man, this movie was like so cool back. Not cool. It was interesting to watch because
he was on the basketball team and he was dunking.
Well, no. The Darwin Award went to them when they jumped on top of the car and like they put on "Everybody's Going Sir" and they like surfed on top of the car. Like if that would have happened today, they would have like banned the movie and because kids would have started doing it.
Did that start the craze though?
I was wondering. I don't remember people doing that. I don't remember like the movie The Practice. I remember this is like a long time ago, maybe 10 years ago. The football movie The Practice, where the kids would lay in the middle of the road, and that was and then kids start doing it and getting run over. So I just find it interesting because if that happened today, the Teen Wolf, I don't know how that would fare. Yeah. But we digress, ladies and gentlemen. This is not necessarily about 80s movies. This is the Conspiracy Farm, where we don't start the conspiracies by God. We just add the water. And today, it's going to be a little information packed. But before we get started, I had a couple questions for you, former UFC champion and Hall of Famer. We have an awesome UFC card coming up tomorrow.
Yes.
And one of my favorites, actually both of them, Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier, a couple of my favorites. But we have a super fight, the light heavyweight champion up against the heavyweight champion. You have called many of Daniel's fights, and I'm sure you're familiar with Stipe and cool with Stipe. What do you got, man? Who do you see winning that bad boy?
Preface this by saying, literally, they are my two favorite active fighters right now. Daniel's done things against heavyweights. He's just not a big guy. He's an inch, maybe two taller than me. And obviously, I fought at 170 pounds, and he's out throwing heavyweights around the Strikeforce Grand Prix. Yeah. He got brought in last minute. And I'll just tell the same thing I told you.
Yeah.
I'm in a Showtime production meeting, and the executive producer, David Dinkins, is going around the room and he's asking people, he's saying, who do you think's going to win? Because Daniel Cormier is being brought in as a replacement for Alistair Overeem, who got hurt, and he's facing Bigfoot Silva, Cormier against Bigfoot Silva. And Daniel's half the size of Bigfoot Silva. And so he's going around the room and people are going, oh my God, Silva's going to crush him. They're going to kill him. And he gets to Mauro Ranallo, and Mauro's always very theatrical and fun to be around, of course. And, David Dinkins says, Mauro, what do you think? And he goes, oh my God, Silva's going to crush him. He's going to rip him apart. And
that's Pat's Mauro Ranallo, by the way.
Mauro's style. And then David Dinkins asked me, I'm pretty much the last person in the room he asked. And I just go, Cormier is going to ragdoll him. He's going to throw him around and just crush him. It won't get out of the first round. I don't think it gets out of the first round.
When you have that great appreciation for wrestlers, Daniel Cormier being an Olympic-style wrestler, like that's just
the pedigree of athlete. I know because I've wrestled with people on the Olympic ladder. I've wrestled with Olympians. I've wrestled with world champions. And it's just a different level of animal, a different level of creature than you can even imagine. Scary human being. So I knew, and I had watched Daniel fight, and he could punch. He could, he was fine. So, and he did. He crushed him, and he went on to win that Strikeforce Grand Prix and beat Josh Barnett for the championship in that. And he threw Josh around there.
Yeah, that was when I knew Daniel was for real. Like Josh is not a small guy.
The slam that Cormier hits Dan Henderson with.
Yeah.
Where he picks him up and literally power bombs him onto his back.
That's Hendo. I mean, he too was an Olympic at level.
Greco. Yeah. So anyway, getting into the fight, I think that Stipe is, Barnett was big, Silva was big, but Stipe is big and can wrestle. Is he the pedigree of Daniel Cormier? No, he's not. But I think that he is rugged enough and a good enough wrestler and big enough and fast enough that he's going to give Cormier nightmares. And in my mind, I think he has a good chance of stopping Daniel.
What round and how?
It would be later on. Daniel does gas a little bit, but you got to remember he's going up against much bigger men.
Well, especially with, like I was saying before, I think Stipe weighed in at 245, and they say Daniel weighed in more than that. So it's like he's normally, weighing in at 205, and now
205 he's been able to get down to. But walking around, he's probably normally 240.
That's what I think I read something like he normally walks around at 245. So. That's cool. You got Stipe winning. What are your thoughts on, whatever it is, what ailed Max Holloway in his fight against Ortega? Was it
From
concussion?
What they said, it was a concussion. It was a concussion is what they said. It's just what I'm wondering is when did the concussion happen? How late in camp? What are you doing if it happened even a week before the fight? What were you doing smashing him in the face?
Yeah.
Number one. This is a world title fight. This is
and there is a bit of conjecture as to what it was, whether it was concussion related or weight related, because he's had issues with the weight stuff before. I listened to an interview with Dana White, and he was like, I don't know when this guy's fighting again. I mean, he was really kind of frustrated with his lack of ability and professionalism to.
Well, think about it. I mean, there's a lot of fighters, even in world title fights, either missing weight, getting hurt, not showing. It's crazy what's going on.
It is. It really is. The missing weight thing, and I heard you talk about that at length on Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. It's like you've been doing that your entire life as an athlete, making weight, and this notion of just this lack of discipline is really...
But you know what? If I wanted to sink the UFC, and I was a multi-millionaire or a billionaire...
Which, according to Google, you are.
Start paying fighters to pull out last minute. That's your conspiracy.
Sabotage.
But hey, look, I mean, over and over and over, title fights that don't end up happening.
It's going to take a toll. I mean, we've had this conversation. One of our first interviews on It's Me Speaking to You. I said this with Boss. I said this with Chevello. I said this with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. The UFC's in an interesting situation, man. The stars are gone. They have to rebuild stars. Connor's now on ice. There's
how can you rebuild stars when fights won't happen?
Yeah, precisely.
Or people don't make weight for fights.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
And you got one of your main stars out committing felonies and whatnot. So. We digress. I just wanted to get your take on that because I know, Kuwait's a sensation, and I'm
going to have to watch it.
For sure.
The World Cup tomorrow. Croatia's 4-0 going into that, so that's big, right?
There's a lot of sports going on. Speaking of sports, and before we get into the heart of the matter, and I'm sorry if we had to kind of get into some lighthearted stuff before we get into the deepness. The other day, anybody who listens to the show, a lot of people don't have time to get into the stuff we get into, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes it seems to me a lot of people don't give a shit about what we're talking about, but worldwide, I think priorities are just a little weird. And, I have to say this, man. So back in the days of the freaking Romans, Emperor, whoever it is, Justinian during the Flavian dynasty created the Colosseum to have games to distract from what's going on in the corrupt Roman Empire. And I swear to God, man, when LeBron James, not knocking his hustle, he's an awesome athlete, but when he went to LA and that news of him going to LA, like it broke the internet. It took over everything, like literally everything. And people who aren't even sports people were talking about it. And I just wish we'd kind of have that same energy towards some of the stuff.
A little bit of passion about stuff that may dictate your children's lives while we're gone.
Your children's and your children's lives. Yeah, yes. I mean we have the elite out here eating children, but let's break the internet over how awesome a dude dribbles a ball and shoots it.
I think that what it ultimately comes down to is what's easy is easy for the human mind. What's hard is hard.
And that's true. And hopefully we try to bridge that gap and do kind of what other people aren't as inclined to do.
And that's what people are going to say about me, that the Militich mind taking easy things and making them hard.
Things require a little bit of critical analysis, my friend, as we know, and we're going to do a little bit of that today. There's a lot going on, and I want this episode to serve as a bit of synthesis, if you will, of the last maybe year and a half of the stuff we've been talking about, from the Russian collusion /hack/leak to
so I don't even
DNC.
know why. Do we even have to talk about the Russian, the dossier or anything? Because doesn't everybody already know that that's all fake?
I want people to kind of remember where it actually started. So, as a la CrowdStrike, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure, but I mean, obviously we, I guess, have to go over that for the 100th time for us anyway.
For sure. But as I say, I want this to be a synthesis of the last year and a half. So we kind of, as repetitive as it is.
Any way, though, I want you to sit back and I want you to be like really liberal here for a second if you can. All right, really liberal.
Do some devil's advocate of sorts.
Do devil's advocate. Could the PP dossier and CrowdStrike and all this other stuff that went on, did the DNC and Hillary Clinton and John McCain and all these people conspire along with FBI agent Strzok and several others? Is it possible that this didn't happen that way?
Anything is possible, Champ. Without a doubt.
But I mean, when you look and you dig through the facts on both sides and you look at the nightly news and the talk of Russia collusion and, Trump's personal attorney getting arrested and General Kelly being charged with lying, is there any way that you could say that it actually is legitimate?
Again, anything is possible, but as we're going to lay out a lot of this stuff, it's the deep state is called the deep state for a reason. And what we kind of know about, you and I, a lot of people who listen to the show, our fellow farmers, kind of know about. A lot of other people don't. So it's harder. It's such an interesting political time right now, Champ. People's visceral hatred of Trump and of Hillary. I mean, our confirmation biases are just really rampant. And a lot of time we're not looking for information. We're looking for affirmation. And as we're going to kind of enumerate here, we see that. And, we're going to get more into the Russia collusion, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I want this episode to kind of serve as a synthesis. So help me out, Champ, if you will. One of the things we're going to touch on is the release of the IG report.
Right.
Michael Horowitz's IG report on kind of the DOJ's role, the FBI's role in the investigation of Trump and Hillary, et cetera, et cetera. Because it was really, really, really misreported by the news. It was, the political bias of Comey and Strzok was painfully apparent. But the news was reporting how there was no political bias, but yet Strzok was escorted out of the FBI office like a day afterwards.
Right.
So if you can, we're going to, again, ladies and gentlemen, please don't mind if Pat reads a bit from this IG report, because not a lot of us have the time to go through these 500 pages. So,
and I've got from page 290 to 303 here, and I'm not going to read through.
Not going to read all of it, but he's just going to highlight some of the stuff that is really.
We can go through these many pages. Without even reading it and just rehash.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
Before I get to the parts
The juicy.
Where it talks about things a little more serious.
Right.
But, you Strzok and Page with their text messages back and forth, their affair going on.
The insurance policy.
Strzok getting nabbed and hammered on both the fact that his wife found out he was having an affair, and also he and Page were both active in doing their best to stop Trump from being president.
And not only that's almost putting it lightly. They literally, they conspired. No pun intended. They conspired to
the conspiracy farm.
Conspiracy farm. They conspired to wiretap, as Trump said, surveil, and undermine a candidate for president of the United States. These are the things that reach to seditious, treasonous activity
and charges possible.
And without
I would think, in a just land, that's what would be going on.
Precisely. So that's kind of what we're going to start out with the IG report, because in my estimation, going back to the Kennedy assassination and the Warren Commission, you have the Chief Justice of the United States presiding over what we all knew to be a horseshit report. And so it's not a matter of these people's positions that we automatically assume, well, they have to be telling the truth because it's Comey, the head of the FBI. It's Rosenstein. He's the deputy.
McCabe, who's already been fired.
It's literally kind of the wolves investigating the hen house, in my opinion. So if you people strap up a little bit and be patient. We're just going to read some excerpts from the IG report as far as what they found as far as these people's behavior, Hillary Clinton emails, Anthony Weiner emails, and literally the obtuseness of if you will, of these investigators in not remembering certain heinous activities which are enumerated in these emails, et cetera, but they're surefire know about Russian collusion. So,
right. Well, here's the thing: is McCabe, Comey, Strzok, Page, all these people, and a lot of other agents basically opted to just drop the ball on the Weiner laptop, the Clinton emails, the child exploitation stuff that's in there, everything else, and just stayed focused on the Trump-Russia collusion investigation. And that was, I think, by design when you look at it, when you see the things that happened. But I'm not going to read through all of this stuff.
No.
I'm just not going to. But Coleman met with Comey, and Comey and Coleman both basically just very vague. When Coleman's journal turned up and it had...
When you say Coleman, do we know who Coleman is?
Coleman is an FBI agent.
Okay.
Underneath, obviously, Comey at the time. But,
yeah.
Coleman told us that he kept... This is in the IG report response to this. Is Coleman told us that he regularly took notes in a journal. Coleman's notes from October 4th contain the following entries. Anthony Weiner texting 15-year-old sexually explicit, and then also on September 26th, iPhone, iPad, laptop, initial analysis of laptop, thousands emails from Hillary Clinton and Foundation, crime against children. That's what it says. That was in his journal, and Coleman went on to testify, and they said, we showed Coleman's notes from October 4th to Comey. Comey did not recall being briefed on the information contained in the notes. When asked about Coleman, Comey said he thought very highly of him and described him as a straight shooter. We asked Comey if this information was something that he likely would have put out of his mind after being informed of it in early October. Comey responded with, I don't think so unless the way it was passed to me was with some, need to do anything. We're running it down or something that pushed it down on my priority list. So, the words...
child exploitation.
Well, the thousands of emails from Hillary Clinton and the Foundation and crime against children would certainly make me put it on the back burner.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I mean, crimes against children with Hillary Clinton emails, and you know what? That's not real important.
Right,
That's not real important. Let's go ahead and put that off. And,
I don't have enough fucks to give about child exploitation, but
let's go ahead and put a couple guys. Let's sneak a couple guys into the Trump campaign, though.
Yep.
And we need to get some wiretaps. How do we do that? Oh, we've got this dossier that we've put together,
which we're going to get into, because it all definitely links together. I mean, it's again the obtuseness of the higher ups in the DOJ and the FBI. We can only fall for these kind of Keystone Cop moments of, like you said, it depends on how it was handed to me. I just couldn't prioritize this in a fashion that really made it urgent. I mean, this is the head of the FBI.
Crimes against children.
I mean, again, it's
Yeah, that goes on every day.
Yeah.
It goes on every day. Let's move on.
Let's go after Russia. I mean, continue. I mean, I'm sorry.
So
again, before you read this next part, which really for me is just beyond heavy, clearly there's political bias in the DOJ and the FBI. From Rosenstein to Comey to Strzok, all of these guys clearly have political bias. Again, stop falling for the freaking Keystone Cop. Oops, I just don't recall, and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
What Pat is about to read is an unbiased FBI pretty much agent, investigator, and he's going to say he has no political axe to grind in this statement here, but this is the crux of the matter right here.
And at the same time, this is written by this IG report was written by
an Obama appointee. Michael Horowitz.
So please, people, don't give it to us because you can't. You got no basis.
No.
You're standing on air currently if you want to argue with us. The case agent, this case agent out in the Seattle area said the case agent explained his growing concern by stating, the crickets I was hearing was really making me uncomfortable because something was going on and something was coming crashing down. And my understanding, which is uninformed because I didn't work the Hillary Clinton matter. Okay. So, he didn't work the Hillary Clinton matter. My understanding at the time was I am telling you people I have private Hillary Clinton emails, number one, the BlackBerry messages, number two, I'm telling you that we have a potential 10 times the volume that Director Comey said we had on the record. Why isn't anybody here with a big question mark? I'm the supervisor of any CI squad in Seattle, and I hear this. I'm getting on with headquarters and saying, hey, some agent working child porn here may have Hillary Clinton emails. Get your ass on the phone. Call the case agent and get a copy of that drive because that's how you should be. And that nobody reached out to me within that night. I still to this day, I don't understand what the hell went wrong. So let me go back and read this where he says, why isn't anybody here? I'm the supervisor of any CI squad in Seattle and I hear about this. I'm getting on with headquarters and saying, hey, some agent working child porn here may have Hillary Clinton emails. That's the way that's worded. Look, it's easy to say somebody who's on that side of the aisle saying, yeah, but it's Weiner's laptop, so it's, there was potentially crimes against children, but he also had a bunch of Hillary Clinton emails on there. So it's just, okay.
Like you were saying earlier, now it may not be directly related, if you were to play some kind of devil's advocate.
But the way that's worded sounds a little differently.
Well, for sure. I mean, and that's, like I said, that's almost an unbiased kind of critique or analysis of what's going on, because he's like, we're talking about child abuse, et cetera, et cetera. Why isn't anybody saying anything about this? And then, like we read earlier, Comey's like, well, because this didn't rise to a level of priority for me to give a shit about.
Or it could also be somebody saying, as an FBI agent, case worker, whatever, saying, hey, wait a minute, I'm working a child porn case on a laptop, and I'm coming up with Hillary Clinton emails that say classified. I'm probably not able to go after that.
Right.
Could that be seen?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right? Absolutely. I mean, you had the NYPD that's been sitting on this laptop for a very long time, right, knowing full well its contents. And I don't know if people paid attention to what Pat just said. What they stated as the amount of emails they've had, it's actually double that amount.
From 375,000 to 675,000 is the actual number.
Over 500,000. And then they've even stated some of those were classified. So that alone is
a felony.
Is a felony.
Right.
But of course, this didn't rise to the, level of urgency for Director Comey. So, I mean, this was an interesting IG report, very much anticipated from this gentleman, like you said, is Obama appointed. And there is another one coming, another report coming. Go ahead.
Right. And the case agent then had a scheduled meeting on October 19th with a couple of higher ups in the Weiner investigation. And this is the agent talking, saying, and I told her I'm a little scared here. I don't know what to do because I'm not political. I don't care who wins this election, but this is going to make us look really, really horrible. And it could ruin this case too. And I said, the thing that also bothers me is that Comey's testimony is inaccurate. He's lying. He's lying.
AKA, he's lying.
He's lying. And he got fired for it, right?
Yeah, true that.
So this is stuff that Trump already knew.
Yeah.
That's why he got fired.
And so what was that page, the one you said of the caseworker, what page was that? 303, I think it was, just so everybody can go themselves. 303, the where it starts out, it was crickets, basically.
Right.
That's really the crux of kind of this whole report. But
yep, and then let's see here. It says, observed that the case agent was getting, for lack of a better word, paranoid, that like somebody was not acting appropriately. Somebody was trying to bury this. So the caseworker was basically stressing out, going, I can see what's going on here.
Yeah.
They're actively trying to hide
actively
this,
obstructing justice, among other just huge crimes, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, we could play devil's advocate as it relates to Hillary, et cetera. I mean, we could do that. But when the new IG report comes out, I don't know if it's going to, you know, bring the pain like I think it should. But just to enumerate, you know, for me personally, I don't like Hillary just because, not personally. I mean, it's not.
It's her cackle, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's her cankles and that sweet smell of urine that she has. The Clintons' illnesses and crimes go back, you know, to Arkansas in the late 70s when Bill was Attorney General and then in Governor. Mena, Arkansas, where they funneled hundreds of millions of dollars of cocaine and hundreds of millions of dollars through the Rose Law. Allegedly, of course. And then it's been going on for decades. Vince Foster, Ron Brown, these guys have been stacking bodies for decades. This is a criminal dynasty that if they would have won, it just freaks me out. But as it relates to children, you know, like I said, back in the day, they've been doing dirt leading up to, some of the more recent stuff. The earthquake in Haiti, the Clinton Foundation, the Clintons can't even show up in Haiti anymore. They took basically $10 billion from the country of Haiti and the Clinton Foundation.
Very true.
Absolutely. And then who was it? Laura Silsby is her name, was a young lady who was pinched trying to take 33 children across the border from Haiti to the Dominican Republic.
She was trying to save them, Jeff.
Of course they were.
But you know what's funny is most of them had parents.
Well, of course. No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. If you go to Haiti, they will tell you what went down.
Kid's missing.
And then Monica Peterson, who was working for another kind of child refugee, child exploitation organization, she catches wind of this, and guess what happens to her? She dies. Monica Peterson dies while investigating the Clintons abducting children out of Haiti, among many other things.
Did she die in Haiti? I know she's the one that went there to investigate.
Yeah. I'm not sure where exactly she died. Dead. Yeah. And then just kind of to enumerate just a few more bodies, you had a gentleman by the name of Klaus Oberwein, who was a Haitian official who was about to testify basically on the goings-on of the Clinton Foundation in Haiti. He dies. He's suicided in Miami.
Doesn't all of this make you, it certainly makes me, want to, you got people investigating things in Haiti and turning up dead. It makes me want to go to Haiti and investigate things.
Well, I mean, if you enjoy self-preservation, I mean, we're already touching the third rail, champ. Whether we're going to Haiti or not, like just the fact that we're exposing, not that we're exposing, like I said, we don't start the conspiracies, we just add the water.
What you just said, though, is very important.
No, it absolutely is.
Whether we're going to Haiti or not, Haiti is hell.
It is, and it's like I said, what's that term? What's Haiti? I'm thinking of whatever. Anyway, but.
Sorry, see, I'm throwing curveballs at you on purpose. See how good you are.
No, that's all right, because I was trying to, whatever. I'm sharp as a tack. But literally, Laura Silsby snatches kids, Monica Peterson this is just to say, this is just one aspect of some of their dirt they're doing. The Clinton Global Initiative, the Clinton Foundation is doing this all over the planet.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, of course. We could see
what I'm here for?
No, exactly. That's the good cop. But, I mean, from Uranium One to, Clinton Cash, Peter Schweitzer. I think Peter Schweitzer is the name of the Clinton Cash, the pay for play, the regime change. Yeah, I mean, this is just part of the cabal. And, it's money, it's drugs, it's people, it's body parts. And Joel Davis, one of the Clinton associates, if you will, and he was a part of some child rescue, whatever, gets pinched for trying to have sex with two 10-year-old boys. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Trying to, or he did?
He was in the process of it. He got Chris Matthews, that show How to Catch a Predator. I think they caught him walking in with lube and whatever else, and they pinched his ass. But why are there all these sick fucks who are doing this? Heads of these child organizations, from the UN to anywhere else. But to also enumerate some of the Clinton proclivities, let us not forget, ladies and gentlemen, that it is public record, and not a conspiracy in any way whatsoever, that Clinton campaign colluded with Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the DNC to steal the nomination from Bernie. This is why Debbie Wasserman Schultz had to get kicked to the curb.
Now, is it true? Did Bernie get a new Audi R8 and a new Lake Home out of the deal?
I think he did. He got about 600. He did. I think it was like $600K or something like that. That's why I can't.
That's not enough, though. What a spineless worm! And they say he's going to be the Democratic nominee.
Exactly.
I urge you to put Bernie in. I urge you.
Well, he's going to get roasted. As long as this show is around, if Bernie tries to run again, he fucked up. He sold out. They pulled his punk card and was like, yeah, you won.
For $600K.
You won. We stole it from you. You're our bitch. Shut up. You're not doing nothing. Right, you know what I mean? He did nothing. So let us not forget, we started talking about colluding and criminality and corruption. When Debbie Wasserman Schultz got dipped out of the DNC, who came in? Donna Brazile.
Yeah.
And then after she caught wind of what went down with the DNC.
She saw the books.
She wrote a book.
She saw that Obama had run it out of money. The Clintons had taken it over, paid off 80% of its debt, and then basically said, we now own the DNC. This is how things are going to go. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's in Donna. Those are Donna Brazile's words, not ours. And then Donna Brazile had the issue. She was scared to death for her life, right?
Well, yeah, she writes a book and pretty much says, after she got let go from the DNC or whatever, she was scared to stand next to windows.
Yeah.
She was afraid she was going to get sniped. So, she was well aware of the Clinton body count and who she was fucking with. And, I'm not a huge Donna Brazile fan, but I say kudos to her for, in the face of, fear for her life or whatever, she let everybody know, yeah, these guys are basically criminals. They stole the nomination from Bernie.
Right.
I mean, that alone, why the hell are we talking about Russian collusion? That alone is criminal activity. That's why kudos to the Becks, Elizabeth and Jared Beck. They are pretty much the lawyers heading up the lawsuit, representing the plaintiffs against the DNC. And, is it odd or coincidental that two of their witnesses, Sean Lucas, who served subpoenas to the DNC on tape, as well as Debbie Wasserman Schultz, he winds up dead. Seth Rich, who was also one of their witnesses, he winds up dead.
It was not a Russian hack. It was
a leak. It was a leak. So, I mean, and to get into that a little bit, because again, like I said in the beginning, I want this to be kind of an analysis of everything.
You got a thumb drive laying around? That's basically what happened. Right?
That is essentially what happened. They have found out through basically what they call digital forensics that it wasn't an online hack through an online network. This was something that was done basically like through a thumb drive or whatever at the source, at the server. And, timeline, if you were to break down the timeline or go back to some of our previous shows, but I'll do it right here. Once they found out they were hacked in late May, early June of 2016, the DNC contacted a company by the name of CrowdStrike. Now, CrowdStrike was essentially, it was founded by a gentleman by the name of Sean Henry. He's former head of the DC FBI counterterror, and Dmitry Alperovich, son of CIA double agent Mikhail Alperovich. Because if the DNC went to
it all in the family,
yeah, no, without a doubt. But if the DNC went to the FBI, we'd be able to go get FOIA requests for this information. So they went to a private company, and that. Around late June, July is when the Russians thing, and this is before Trump was even a nominee. And then Seth Rich is killed in July. And then if you look the Podesta emails, he's aware that it was a hack, not a leak, not a hack. And he says something in these emails about, let's make an example of this individual. And then Seth Rich winds up dead.
What was the term for killing somebody?
I forget. What do you say? Wet works?
Yep.
Yeah. Coincidentally, Seth Rich winds up dead around the same time. John Podesta says, let's make an example, whoever this was, et cetera, et cetera. And then, onset of this Russian collusion business. And, here we go. Some 2 years later, still thumping this while we know the DNC was pretty much colluded by the Hillary Clinton campaign. And, well, in addition to that, the Clinton, through the DNC, through Piper's Coy, I think it was Perkins Coy, goes and hires this Christopher Steele, ex-MI6 spy, to create this fake dossier, which they used illegally
to get a
FISA warrant and do what Trump said originally. I've been wiretapped. He's old school, you know what I mean? He's using antiquated terms, but they were wiretapping the Trump campaign. Surveillance. I mean, this is seditious. This is weaponizing the FBI and the DOJ. This
against a presidential front runner.
One political party weaponizing the FBI and the DOJ and the DNC to malign another campaign. I mean, this is pretty.
That's trying. Besides shooting him, that's as hard as you can try to change a presidential election.
And they didn't. All of that, they still couldn't do it.
So people have to grasp, if that's actually true, all that stuff is true, which we believe it is.
What's that? What we just said? Well, we know it's public information.
IG report.
This isn't even a conspiracy theory. This is public information.
Right. This is the sort of stuff a World War I, World War II, any other era, and any other country probably right now. People would go to prison for life.
Oh, this is this is Banana Republic type shit, dude.
Yeah, this is firing squad level offense.
It really is, and unfortunately, again, our emotions get in the way.
There's people watching us going, "Oh, bullshit."
Again, this isn't machinations of Pat and my psychosis. You can find this information, all of it.
Do some work.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not a theory. We know criminal activity went on in the DNC to steal the nomination from Bernie. We know CrowdStrike, essentially through certain machinations, created the Russian narrative. We know Trump was wiretapped. We know they used illegal information to get a FISA warrant. I mean,
and we all remember the news, all the news stations, after Trump made that statement on Twitter. I've been wiretapped, and they're all laughing on MSNBC and CNN. They're like, "This guy is freaking." He is not mentally ill. He's mentally ill. We
mentally unfit.
A Harvard doctor or psychologist has already declared that Donald Trump is mentally ill. He is not fit to serve as president. Oh, what do you? Oh, it's true. Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. Okay. All right, that didn't work. Let's move on. Stormy Daniels.
Yeah.
Oh, let's. Yeah,
we got to kick the can down the road.
Let's get
Michael Cohen.
Michael Cohen paid her off, right? But you notice it wasn't Don Sr. who got the divorce after all that stuff broke. Who was it?
Don Jr.
Don Jr. So was the old man covering for his son and having his attorney pay off Stormy Daniels?
Again,
Don Jr. the kinky one?
Again, this horseshit reaches the level of priority for James Comey, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
Not the fact that these guys are stealing nominations. It's who the nominations is Trump's fucking her.
And Comey's brother was an attorney for who?
I don't doubt it. Rosenstein's wife was a Clinton attorney.
There you go.
I mean, again, it's the wolves investigating the hen house.
It's just coincidence, Jeff. All this stuff is just coincidence.
I know.
It's just coincidence. There's no way.
No way. I know. It's very frustrating, ladies and gentlemen. So hopefully, we can't fall for we cannot continue to fall for the okie doke. I mean, this literally, a lot of the things, a great many of these things we've enumerated are treasonous. These are felonies. These are, it's pretty, I'm going to say it's unprecedented because corruption's, it's like handing out, it's like handing out speeding tickets to the Indy 500, like they said in the
comparison with Gulf of Tonkin, though.
They've been doing it for a long time. They have been doing it for. They murdered the president in broad daylight, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So this is,
Did you see the video that just came out? The guy who has video, and you're the Kennedy expert. Sorry to jump around on you.
That's all right.
The driver turned around and it looks like he has a pistol.
That's horseshit. William Cooper came out with that, and God bless William Cooper. Rest in peace. I dig his book. What is it called? Damn it! What the fuck is that book called?
You've read every book on the JFK.
Behold the White Horse, something like that. I've read several books on the JFK, and that whatever. First of all, the seats are column seats. I think they're called they don't go down in the middle. So there's several reasons why that was horseshit. But
all right, sorry.
No, that's
sorry to get you off on a tangent there.
Don't get me started.
You started sweating more because of the JFK stuff. I like it. So what other subjects would you like to talk about?
Well, again, this we might as well because it just happened. The Awan brothers. We were talking about the Awans a year or so ago. Right. These guys were running a spy ring in Congress. They were hired by Debbie Wasserman Schultz and pretty much was running servers and providing BlackBerries for several Democratic members of Congress for blackmail purposes, of course.
Right.
And
compromising our politicians.
He had full
access. Forcing them to vote in ways that nobody ever would.
He had full access to the Congressional Credit Union, hundreds of thousands of dollars taken out, wiring hundreds of thousands to Pakistan, to his family, was pinched at Dulles Airport, fleeing the country, but was charged with merely bank fraud, not espionage, not,
and as I've said before,
destruction of evidence,
and
obstruction
you can see
of justice.
I'm sure. Being charged with bank fraud, I'm sure that there were discussions of other charges. And, listen, Mr. Awan, what do you know? What do you know about, this whole spying ring? We've got it. The NSA has all the stuff that you've been doing.
Right.
We know what you've been doing. Here's your collection points around D.C. for all those BlackBerries. all the info getting sucked off of them. We know what you guys been doing. We got your emails.
A Comey-esque investigation because the prosecutors did say they looked into these espionage issues, but found insubstantial evidence to charge him for any of that stuff.
That's just a front. I think that's part of the. I think that Awan sang like a bird. I think he got off easy, and I think that there are much bigger fish that are going to go down because of it. That's my personal opinion. Talk about the shootout at the Awan car dealership. Yeah, people being murdered and all kinds of stuff.
Well, again, like we talked about, whether it's the Awans, whether it's Weinstein, whether we've called for perp walks on the show numerous times, and I don't want some symbolic arrest only to charge these guys with such minuscule crimes when they're, like the Awans. Bank fraud, really? He ran a freaking spy ring in Congress. He stole a server and switched it out.
So
he destroyed laptops.
You're under the feeling that this is not a Pakistani spy ring at all.
It is not a Pakistani spy ring. They might have some stuff going on wired back to Pakistan, but I think this is other countries, other countries' intelligence operations involved, and it happens all the time. It's kind of almost like a false flag operation. We'll have this Pakistani guy do it, and we'll blame it on Pakistan when, in fact, it's another country entirely.
Why don't you go ahead and say it, I think.
By way of deception, thou shalt make war. I believe this is a Mossad operation. These guys, Wiener, Wasserman Schultz, I think, as we said in numerous episodes, the Mossad is no joke, is really no joke. And I think this is just another aspect of one of their operations.
Should we never mention the word Mossad again?
No, call it what it is. Some people speculated it's, Pakistani ISI. That's cool. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I just don't. That's whatever. I just don't see Pakistani.
It's too high level.
It's too high level. This just reeks of Mossad, quite frankly.
And Mossad is so good that they got who in?
Eli Cohen, man. Mossad is so dope. They got this top level spy to be the Syrian Minister of Defense, and I think it was the 60s or 70s. And of course, they found out who he was. And executed him. But
what an amazing thing to get somebody.
Come on.
Well, and many people think that many enemies of our nation have been, put in power or in positions of power over, the past few administrations.
Without a doubt. We have. I'm not going to mention any names, but we have a lot of people in our government that work for Mossad, that work for
the Brotherhood,
the Turkish government. Look up the American Turkish Council and see who's on that board. You'll just see the who's who of NSA, Dick Cheney, Prince Scowcroft. So there's a lot of players involved. That's why we often say this is a chess game. This isn't checkers. And so if you're looking at the mainstream media for your answers, you are just fucking pissing in the wind because that is just designed to keep you uninformed.
Right.
Clip your mic there just so it don't fall off your thing. No, that's right. It's going to fucking sound. Hey.
No, we're all right.
Sorry about that.
There we go. Sorry, folks.
So, yeah, there's a lot going on. I'm jumping down the old rabbit hole. We got the immigration issue.
Well, the immigration issue came up because of the hearings on the Hill about the IG report and agents giving pretty damning testimony.
Yeah.
A lot of bad stuff being brought to light. And
the timing of it, too, we found very suspicious, right?
Suddenly, let's focus on the kid on the border that's crying who's been separated from mommy.
Thrown on Time magazine cover with president. That was just insane. And then the little kid who was shown in the cage, which we found out was actually not really in a cage, was part of a protest. But, this is, again, discernment, ladies and gentlemen. Propaganda has been made legal by our government. National Defense Authorization 2, signed by Barack Obama, has allowed for the legal use of propaganda in American citizens. And we see it all the time, but this particular issue is one of them.
I think that we need to spend more time on this.
Let's do it.
Say that all again.
What, the whole thing?
Yes.
So we see it all the time. We've seen it in different issues, but propaganda has been legalized by our government. NDAA number 1 has allowed for the illegal indefinite detention as well as the assassination of American citizens. NDAA 2 has, among other things, legalized propaganda on U.S. citizens. So, this, again, the timing of the IG report.
Indefinite detention without representation.
Yeah. Military tribunals, it is. And honestly, ladies and gentlemen, that's why I say all the time, I will never kill myself. I love my life. Pat does the same. But, when it comes to these kind of conversations, the criteria as a quote-unquote terrorist can be very vague and ambiguous. And you could literally be talking this kind of talk like we're talking.
And have a different president in power.
Well, hopefully, hopefully it doesn't, hopefully we're not getting scooped up in this. But worst case scenario is we could be scooped up and thrown into some kind of military tribunal, like you said, and not be allowed representation, et cetera, et cetera. If we meet that criteria as quote unquote whatever, terrorist, rebel,
the
whatever.
The thing that scares me the most, though, out of all of it, is that's the end game. That's the end game that could be abused by someone who is just power hungry, right? Doesn't care about fellow citizens, just wants complete dominance and control, right? But what scares me the most is how we get there, and that's by, the propaganda. That it's legal for the news to completely lie to you. That's what I said. It's completely legal. The Obama administration passed it, that they can lie to you, just straight-faced lie to the American public about what the news actually is.
Absolutely. I mean, again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I mean, Operation Mockingbird goes back to the 40s, the late 40s, early 50s.
And but the thing is when I say that again, and I think about it, it's legal for them to lie to us, but yet roughly half of the American public is battling tooth and nail for that side that passed that.
I think it was Aldous Huxley who said, and I'm not the hugest fan of the Huxley brothers, but there will come a time, like he said, where we will beg for our enslavement. We will fight for our enslavement. And
I see that.
Our phone is like a part of it. You know what I mean? You take somebody's phone, they'll lose their mind. But again, this is it's very, very scary times we're in. Everyone's talking about through this immigration conversation, I love children, but listen to the conversation we have on the conspiracy farm, ladies and gentlemen. They're skinning, they're eating children, they're ritualistically abusing them, but it's crickets from the left on that.
Most people are going to tune out on what you just said.
Well, that's their problem.
They don't believe it.
Well, again, we say it oftentimes. It's a testament, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't believe it, it's a testament to your humanity to not really understand how deep this evil goes.
True.
You have two-time Georgia Senator Nancy Schaefer, who is pretty much blowing the lid off of, basic legal child kidnapping through the CPS. Her and her husband allegedly killed in a murder-suicide. These are third rail items. The Franklin
a senator
report,
who had the guts to go against Child Protective Services and say they're the ones responsible for the human
child kidnapping,
sex trafficking,
yeah.
kidnapping, just flat out taking the kids from families, families that didn't have the wherewithal to have an attorney to fight back, and they just come and take their kids.
Well, even if they did, like we said in Haiti, they're taking kids from their parents. You know what I mean? Hey,
you know what? We're going to give Junior a better life in America.
Yeah. Well, in this immigration conversation, again, it's the chess game, in my opinion. Trump has been rounding up these child traffickers throughout the world, freezing assets, etc. His locking down of the border has in my opinion, has his understanding of not just being xenophobic or whatever.
Right.
He understands the threat of ISIS and
fentanyl and heroin
and how trafficking through children is done through these porous borders. Right. That's why 12,000 of these kids were. Of the 12,000, 10,000 were sent by themselves by strangers.
Right. And people don't understand that. Okay. They'll say, you can't have a wall across that whole. No, but you know what happens is you create choke points, right? And choke points are tactically the only way to do it.
Yeah.
You have to be able to control the flow coming across the border, be able to check who is who. That way you slow down the child sex trafficking, you slow down the dope, you slow down all of it.
Well, Jeff Sessions regulations on now DNA testing to get these kids, if they're going to be moved out and reunited with their parents, there has to be DNA
proof, confirmation
that this is your legitimate family member. Because again, 10,000 of these kids were just sent by themselves or with strangers or people they didn't know. Again, I mean,
the drop in border crossings in the past month and a half has dropped by like 60 to 70% because of the statements of, Pence coming out, Pence saying flat out, he goes, well, we're not only not going to abolish ICE, we're adding 10,000 more agents to the existing 7. We're more than doubling it. That's what we're doing. So while you people continue to cry and say we need to abolish ICE, no, we're going to go ahead and
you have
up.
Protesters who are camping and blocking the ICE offices in different cities and different states. I mean, it's again,
do these people have jobs, dude? They don't, do they?
I'm not sure, but again, it's the checkers game they're playing, man. They're just too in their own fields to really attempt to get the larger 4D chess or whatever you want to call it that's taking place, man. I mean, again, like I just said, don't fucking talk to me about being pissed off about separation from children when, again, you have children being freaking...
There's 900,000 homeless children that are American citizens right now.
Exactly.
Can we please care about them and the veterans first?
Thank you,
Can
sir.
we please do...
Or even, not to make
100 okay, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all right, bud.
Between 120 to 150 billion dollars a year in total is spent on illegal immigrants, and that's everything from, you go through the medical side of things, the education side of things, the welfare side of things, everything. That's including ISIS. That's including the cost of just everything. So spending $20 billion on a wall to mitigate and slow down and lower those costs, so that maybe we could divert a lot of that money, those billions, to the homeless children of America that are citizens already.
Or holding these organizations like CPS accountable. You know what I mean? It's very trendy to give a shit about the causes that you're told to give a shit about.
Right.
But, if you dig a little deeper and find out, like, the real chess game and diabolical shit that's going on, yeah, I mean, great. No one wants children separated from their parents, but, again, we have this going on, like you said, whether it's homeless children, et cetera. I mean, this shit is rampant, and like I'm tired of this kind of, like, trendy, selective butthurtness.
And to act like it shouldn't be America first when we have these problems. It's look, there are some broken parts to this country, but it is by far the best place in the world to live. And people better wake up to that and understand that all changes if you allow this flood to continue. And it's not about brown people. It's not about black people. It's not about any color of skin. It's about being able to sustain and not have the Cloward Piven tactic come true.
I mean, and like, again, the divide and conquer, they want it to be about racial issues or ethnic issues, et cetera, the xenophobic or whatever. But, Pat, you and I aren't necessarily on the same page politically, but it really doesn't matter. We just want life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, the best for our children. Whatever your political spectrum, as long as you're not hurting people,
right.
I don't give a shit what you necessarily believe. It's just...
that's the thing with my 4th of July party. I strongly encourage my friends who happen to be of the liberal mindset to wear a Hillary Clinton or Obama shirt. I truly encourage free speech. I don't agree with it.
Right.
I don't agree with their opinion, but I don't care. Just make sure it's red or blue, or red, white, and blue, because it's the 4th of July. So
right. And that's, Champ, we say this all the time. Divide and conquer is in full effect. Let us disagree. Variety is the spice of life. But at the end of the day, we are human beings before any of this madness. And honestly, we see this in crisis or natural disaster emergency. It truly is a beautiful thing to watch. But we always see, once the floodwaters recede, once the buildings are rebuilt after a terrorist attack, we go right back to the same extreme tribalism that keep us divided. And it's totally by design, whether it's political, racial, sexual orientation, right, left, Muslim, Christian. It's firing on all cylinders. And this kind of brings us to somewhat of our final, this notion I'm hearing about Civil War II, if you will. And I've said it numerous times, man. I think we are being prepped and engineered towards serious conflict. I just sent you the video the other day in Portland where an Antifa clashed with some real heavy hitters and cats were just getting knocked out.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the thing that I noticed most about that is that Antifa folks have horrible head movement.
Well, and again, they're coming.
They can't duck a punch.
They're coming to a fucking war almost with like black cats, fireworks, and it just.
Yeah, shooting giant.
Not to say everybody on the right side is trained and blah 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 blah, but there are some heavy hitting, well trained, very prepared.
You're looking at a lot of veterans, a lot of combat veterans. You're looking at a lot of people who know how to fight.
And really, are very well armed.
Yeah, and it's just the left is so gullible. These kids are so gullible that are getting sucked into this and getting talked into this, into a frenzy to go out and cover your face and go burn buildings and burn cars and attack friggin' your fellow Americans. And
this is now being sanctioned.
These people are being used as pawns.
Exactly.
Hoping that eventually the conservative side of the aisle comes armed and then unloads, throws a bunch of hot lead downrange and kills a bunch of these Antifa people. Now you've got lockdown. Now you've got martial law. Now it's like, we're coming to get guns. We're doing this. We're doing that. That's what they want. That's what the controllers want.
Well, and that's what we're seeing, too. You know, like I said, this is a slow roll. Genocide, civil war does not happen overnight. It's a slow conditioning to no longer see your enemy as a human being. And then you have rhetoric. I mean, you know, to keep it 100, remember when Trump and his beginning of his campaign was like, kick people's ass, I'll pay your legal cost. That kind of rhetoric is no good.
No,
Maxine Waters saying, you know, accost Trump administration people, don't let them move, blah, 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 because these political difference. This is ratcheting up the rhetoric to go beyond political. And so she says she had to cancel some events because of death threats. And this is, you know, and then she says something about, if you're going to shoot me, just make sure you shoot straight. This rhetoric.
That's an eye roll. That's an eye roll.
If it did happen really or didn't happen, these death threats, she is on both sides, whatever. The rhetoric is being elevated, and these are the elements of the slow roll I'm talking about that gets us past political differences and start making it physical. What I showed you the other day, the Portland thing. I mean, this is a sign of more shit to come if we do not transcend this conversation of right left, which kind of brings me to something you showed me last week, which was really powerful, ladies and gentlemen. Pat and I have been talking about Q and the veracity of Q. Who is Q? And I'm sure people who listen to the show, everybody's kind of been following what he's been saying, he or she, whatever, has been saying. Something I found very compelling is very, very recently in one of their last posts was a definitive timeline. He said July will be the month that the world finds out the truth. And it was just an awesome video that we're going to post the link to in this episode. But it really synthesized everything we've been talking about, how this thing's been engineered, the role of Trump, whether he's legit or not.
But what's interesting, the statement that Q made about the world learning the truth in the month of July is very interesting because the main fact that I believe it was today, Congress subpoenaed the unredacted copies of the IG report. So that's where the real meat and potatoes will lie. I mean, this has been redacted heavily from what I'm told.
Oh, for sure.
And we're already reading stuff about child porn and child exploitation, combined with, you know, the Wiener and Huma and
all
Clinton
of it,
emails. So the unredacted might be what Q was talking about, that the world is going to learn the truth from the unredacted copy of the IG report, and you know, we'll have to wait and see if that's the case.
Without a doubt. I just found it very compelling that he was, you know, definitely, because it's been so nebulous. So many of his posts, it's been like head scratching shit, all these crumbs he's laid out. They have laid out. And it's just interesting to hear that they gave this definitive timeline. So I'll be anxious to see here in the month of July, the next IG report's coming.
Wouldn't it be amazing, though, to be the Master Chief of Intel and know all this stuff, seeing every email that's important, know the meat and potatoes of these things, of what's really going on behind the scenes, because the NSA, military intelligence, knows all. They know all about every one of you. They know anything they want to know about us.
And they're definitely all over the place, as we see, you know, NSA and, you know, our phones, whatever it is, you know, it's rampant surveillance, quite frankly, and it's actually kind of scary. But, you know, this is the world we're living in. I'm hoping, again, I'm hoping against hope that some of this Q stuff is legit, and we start seeing some perp walks with some legitimate, like our friend Craig Salman Sawyer. They have fired up Gitmo, and I'm hoping to see some perp walks into that some bit.
My thing is, what's your take? Is Rosenstein going to be fired in the month of July?
It's hard saying. I don't doubt it.
Impeached.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. It's hard to say, because if he does, you know, it just makes it look like Trump's hiding something. But again, we have the foxes or the wolves or whatever investigating the hen house. So,
and you know, the thing is with the madness that you're talking about, with Maxine Waters and Pelosi and all these people, becoming unhinged in the Democratic Party. I have to find this.
We're losing juice on the camera, so hurry up, champion.
Okay. Sorry, hold on.
Well, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna post that Q video in this episode, and we're gonna hopefully.
But there's a Democrat, New York senator who's saying to Schumer, saying get this party under control and bring it back to an honest base, or I'm done. From now on, I'm supporting the Republicans. That's from a New Yorker.
Wow. I mean, it's interesting times. We're seeing a lot of resignations, like we talked about many months ago. We're seeing a lot of people not choosing to run for their next term. So who knows, man? If they're, as Dawkins says, running for the hills, run to the hills. But I mean, we will see, champ, because only time will tell.
I didn't talk a whole lot tonight. I let you do the talking.
No, we shared a nice little balance, I think.
Yeah.
We strike a fine balance, sir.
I was there just to prompt you.
Yeah, and to throw curveballs at me to fuck me up. I know your game, buddy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this hasn't been, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, obviously, but I wanted this again to be a synthesis of a lot of information the past year and a half or so of our shows. It's really kind of coming to a head, whether it's the Awans just struck a plea deal, whether it's the Hillary emails, the Clinton Foundation, all of that hopefully coming out, and Q. It's really all really tied together. The Russian investigation and the horse shitness of that.
Yeah.
It's really kind of tied it together and coming to a head.
Q. I'm going to keep an eye on Q, I can tell you that.
Without a doubt, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, we will always be here to provide the information that the mainstream media.
We're going to be able to absorb the truth if what comes out is what we expect. We're prepared for it.
And even if it's not, you know what I mean? I'm, again, not looking for information, or I am looking for information, not so much affirmation for what I already believe. I have no axe to grind. I just want, let justice be done though the heaven falls, whether it's right or left, because, truth is really what we're looking for.
Yes.
Champ, another good episode.
Thank you, sir.
Let's
Good
be awesome
work.
to see. Hopefully you have a good time at your party tomorrow.
You pulled the card today. Thank you. Good work.
And good luck to Stipe and Daniel tomorrow. It's going to be an awesome card.
Hell of a fight. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another installment of The Conspiracy Farm. Jeffrey Wilson signing out. Peace. There will always be more. Holla.